we just talked about that you all should learn that.
Maybe,
That should be our goal for,
maybe the next meeting we
It
can
is
all
8
show up
o'clock,
at
and whoever's running the meeting, your
Quarter.
meeting is ready to go.
good morning. I'm calling the Public Health and Safety Standing Committee meeting to order on January 13th at 8 o'clock. There's no minutes yet, so we can go ahead and move that down. I'll have those later today, maybe or tomorrow. Sorry,
Okay.
I enjoyed my 5-week vacation. Chief Schrock is here. Schrock,
Yes,
do
ma'am.
you have some news for us, information?
Yeah. Happy New Year. It's good to see everybody again.
Yeah.
Comparative 2024, there were 3,479 calls for service with 401 active investigations. 2025, there was 3,446 calls for service, which is just a few lower than 2024. However, our active case investigation load was up 104 cases.
To 505 then.
Correct.
Got
And
it.
then arrests were higher in 2025. And yeah, so everybody's staying very busy.
So calls for service were down slightly, but investigation and arrests were up.
Correct.
Anything else? Anything interesting? Funny?
There's always something funny happening.
Imagine.
No, the guys in the office they're plugging away. They're doing a fantastic job. Very, very happy with their performance throughout last year and then continuing to this year. Absolutely.
The school resource officer, I know we missed that, but any alternatives or any options
We didn't
with
miss it.
other? Oh, we didn't.
We did not miss it.
Yeah.
I have Danae looking into alternatives options right now, speaking with who's handling the grant and seeing if that money can be reallocated elsewhere. If so, great. If not, we did try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the status of like Joliet and Roberts? Do they already have one? And I think you said Bridger has one already.
No, the Bridger Police Department does not have one.
Okay.
The county schools, which are under the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's Office jurisdiction, they do have one deputy responsible for all those schools,
Okay.
which includes, let me see if I can get them all in one shot. Luther, Fromberg, Joliet, where am I missing, Ann? Luther, Fromberg, Joliet, Roberts, excuse me.
Yeah, oh, don't forget Roberts.
No,
Never.
kids go there. And I believe, yeah, so he's in charge of SRO operations in all those schools.
Okay, so the county has one allocated for all
Correct.
the county schools.
What's
Okay.
his name?
Scott Decline.
No, I think I know him.
He's a good deputy. Good guy.
Does he do the same thing in the summer? He works for the county and then,
Well, so he always works for the county. During the school year, he's mainly in charge of SRO operations, and then during the summertime, he's on the street full-time.
oh, never heard of him. Okay.
Yeah, he came here a few years ago from Yellowstone County and put in for the SRO position and has been doing that since.
Oh, okay.
And they all share funds or all contribute funds with different county schools? No, it's
No.
just the county pays for it,
Yes.
100%, okay.
Where did he get his training?
The SRO training, I believe he went to the NASRO, National Association of School Resource Officers training. It's a 1 week, I believe it's 1 week.
Only 1 week?
Yes. But there's,
They take a lot in the week.
it's like, so FTO school is only 1 week, right? So it's a lot of information crammed into 1 week. However, the education is continuing throughout his time as an SRO.
Oh, okay.
Just as like a police officer, we're always attending trainings, legal updates, physical training, stuff like that. So same thing for an SRO.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
For that update.
Question with
Yes, sir.
Red Lodge schools, was it just a lack of time, or was it a lack of true desire to have the program?
You know, I'm not sure. I would say probably a little bit of both, honestly. Yeah.
Their response when they came back, and there was a follow-up letter put out by the superintendent, that what they said is they thought they had the buildings pretty locked down, and what they ultimately wanted was a part-time position that reported to them rather than a position that reported through us. Well, and while they would seek to have somebody with a law enforcement background, that they were going to hire a position that reported to them. And then the other part of it really just kind of came down to the dollars, which I was disappointed about, because with the grant and the city's efforts, we met or exceeded the dollar requests that they said they'd be good with. So we spent a lot of effort pursuing something that we understood they'd be good at.
Correct.
And to the chief's point, we kind of came in and did everything we could do to ask for it, and they opted to say no and walk away from it, and I accept that. So that's.
I accept it as well. The fact that they came out and said they wanted a safety officer with a law enforcement background doesn't gel with originally what I was told by the school district.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
Is there such a thing?
I've never heard of it.
Yes, I was thinking of,
Yeah.
just in my mind's eye, I'm thinking of situations, and I don't.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Well, think of like school counselors when we were in kids or something, you know, what background did that, it could be
Sure.
psychology, it could be law enforcement.
It could be gym teachers who flunked out. I mean, you know.
Or had
Maybe
something
that
else
was
to do
my
because they only had 3 hours that they needed to teach gym, right?
Sure.
And I think what it boils, I think this is a little bit of subjective editorial maybe. I think, the two factors were, they were looking at the cost of that position compared to the cost of teachers, which to me is kind of having the discussion between, does the airline pilot and the guy who runs the luggage, I gotta be careful, because I'm not downplaying
The
teachers in
carousel.
any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is not all jobs are equal, and pay scales and
Absolutely.
different markets carry with them different competitiveness elements. And I think they weren't at peace with that. And I do think that there was some folks there that had expressly expressed that they didn't think nor need that we really wanted an SRO officer. And my biggest concern is that I felt they were giving us different information up to that point. And so I have a concern when you go ask for grants, particularly if you're then given those grants and choose not to take advantage of it, they can come back and haunt you and inhibit your ability to get grants in the future. So that's what we're trying to do now, is minimize that and make sure that they don't understand. We weren't knowingly wasting our time, and we weren't trying to jerk their chain. This is just the way it worked out.
Yeah, so it is true. The application process for future grants could be affected if previously we applied for a grant, we were awarded the grant, and then we had to return the money. However, I spoke to several grant writers during the time period where the school board said no and tabled the discussion, and to now, and they said that if you were to explain, the process and what happened and the why, they're probably going to work with you in the future. So I wrote a 3-page letter to our grant organizer, explaining the why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Boy, that's,
A lot of work.
Mayor,
Madam Chair, could you give us a 2-minute summary of the protest over the weekend? I know I had several people reach out to me concerned and/or questioned about whether folks had a permit, and I explained they didn't require a permit. We
They
have
do
this
not.
lovely thing called
The First Amendment.
called the First Amendment that we will do everything we can to support.
Correct.
But can you give us a summary of concerns or issues that may or may not have come up, or?
Absolutely. We were aware of the demonstration before it took place. They were kind enough to, I guess, be pretty transparent with what their intentions were. There was no violence. There was one call for service where somebody thought that they may have been blocking a sidewalk. An officer responded and turned out not to be the case. As far as I'm concerned, it was successful in the sense that You know, massive egos didn't get involved and it erupted, so, I'm satisfied with the results. There's nothing serious to report. If somebody wants to have a demonstration, they are protected under the First Amendment, their First Amendment rights, and we have no issue with that, and we will do what we can to protect their constitutional rights.
And the event organizer had reached out to me too, and I had indicated that was my concern, was just make sure that sidewalks and streets remain passable.
Yep.
I do have, or did have a concern, that if there's more than 75 people,
Mhm.
then it does require a permit, which wasn't there. And I'd mentioned that concern. If it got high, maybe look at relocating or spreading out. My understanding is they kind of spread out. And the event organizers knew that they had a responsibility to help make sure that sidewalks and roads
Right.
remained passable. And I figured if there was a point that it wasn't, there'd be a call for service and an officer would respond. And so and we made sure that they had both the dispatch number in case there were non-emergency responses as well as 911. Told them to please feel free to use them if and as needed. And I've spoken with the event organizer since, and her feedback was positive and good as well. So I just wanted to know what your...
Yeah, I wasn't assigned to my normal shift, when that took place. It was on a Sunday. However, the officers that I have on staff, I have nothing but faith in them to handle anything that comes their way. It didn't require any action or for me to leave what I was doing to come in and handle it.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I wanted to ask you how you came in contact with the event coordinator ahead of time to provide that information. Did they reach out to you, or is that part of the process when they reach out to say, hey, I give advance notice?
They, in this particular case, they happened to have reached out to me. There was a concern. They had announced it on Facebook, and there were some responses. And apparently they hadn't seen them. They'd been pulled, but that was a Facebook forum administrator issue. And I let her know that folks had reached out to me and the answer that I had given them. But yeah, she had reached out to me initially wondering if what she had qualified as a threat. She had a concern, and I said, if you feel like you have one, you're welcome to, you know, I kind of said call dispatch and file a report. But even while we were on the phone, she had gotten some snapshots of what it was, and while they certainly weren't kind, they were also not threatening in nature. It was somebody exercising their First Amendment right. And so what they had was really a Facebook forum administrator issue. But we took advantage of the opportunity to just kind of talk about how to make sure that it wouldn't be an issue and reaffirm, yep, you're allowed, and here's there, and we're there to support as needed, and you're helping making sure that we don't have to respond because of other obstructions.
Which the police,
appreciated.
the police department is appreciative of people that are planning such things, where they don't have to notify the police.
Yeah.
It's nice when they do, just so it doesn't come out of left field and
Yeah,
Absolutely.
surprise my officers and I.
Why not?
Yep.
About everything.
Sure.
And particularly where we have such a solid reputation of backing and supporting and recognizing that right.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for the chief?
All set?
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
If you have the ability to stay for a couple minutes, it would be appreciated. There's a couple of topics coming up where your input would
Sure.
be nice.
3, ordinance restricting the use of tobacco products. That's ordinance 884. Any discussion on that?
So it's below the fold, so we just talk about it tonight?
Yeah.
Since we lost that fearless leader, Sandy Conley.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure Ann and I are prepared or know what to do.
I have, having read that, it seemed interesting to me that there was no reference to cannabis, smoking cannabis, which may or may not become a debate point when a police officer has to enforce a rule, and they say, but it says tobacco products. And so the ordinance does not refer to anything, there's a generic smoking, but what's the definition? So
Jordan, would you talk about the state statute real quick for open use of marijuana?
Yeah, you're talking about just in public in general?
Yes.
So it's a civil fine that can be enforced on the state side outside of an ordinance. There's also, essentially like open container marijuana laws similar to alcohol. That's also like a civil fine that can be in a motor vehicle or whatever, out public. There's civil fines, but they can also be enforced on the state side.
So my understanding is, and even prior to this, we don't need to address marijuana because state statutes already say the places you get to use it are inside your private property, period. That's the extent of it. So by definition, that covers all the parks. So if somebody had that in a park, it would already be addressed.
It's addressed, and we do enforce that.
Yeah, essentially, it's gotta be in a private residence type deal. You can't do it out in public in front of other people. So if we see it, it's enforced.
We treat it the same as an open container of alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other issue that I had in this, is going down to the restriction I'll apply to. It says all city designated parks, which is a change from what it used to be, because before they just specifically listed parks. In my mind, we had talked about city designated parks unless specifically excluded, which I don't, and that's council's discretion, I just remember that. But the other thing that I would say does need to be there, and when it says recreational facilities included but not limited to, that needs to, in my opinion, say city-owned recreational facilities, because we don't cover beyond that. So I would say that's an absolutely, that one needs to be there. But, and then just discussion, unless specifically excluded. And maybe the answer is we're never going to exclude, and there we don't want to have that. But to me, building that into it would be wise. And then the other thing, and I wanted the chief's kind of input here, I don't know, is because, again, this is basically going to be an ordinance that you guys have the responsibility to enforce. And although I have a follow-up question that too, because as from an enforcement officer standpoint, so let's talk about smoking in parks. Let's talk about snow on sidewalks, which is actually next, which is one of us there. One of the things in our snow ordinance is it says specifically they will be cited by the police department. And what we're looking for is a change so that that doesn't require the onus on the police department, that the public works director could issue a citation, or a city administrator or an enforcement officer could do that. What do we need to do, or what's the appropriate ways to do that from a city standpoint? Or do we just call on you guys to do it and you just figure out how to file it into your workload? What's the thoughts? What's the preference?
I honestly think that the way that snow on sidewalks is normally handled is they receive a warning first, and if it's not, if that issue is not taken care of, then the police will issue a citation. I believe that a warning could be a letter from the city attorney, a phone call from the mayor, Public Works stepping in and documenting that they spoke with so-and-so about the issue on the sidewalk, and then when it comes to be citation time, that should be the police department responsibility.
Okay. So right now, I think it says our warning is from the police as well in snow, and so we will change that from there.
Okay.
But so you don't have a concern with being the sole enforcement point?
No. I would say that any citation that's issued that goes to court could potentially call upon the citation issuer to take the stand and testify. Now, I'm not an expert on ice or snow removal for that matter. However, I have been on the stand quite a bit. It's just one of those possible requirements that somebody that issues a citation could be called as a witness, whether it's, state's witness, city witness, whatever.
So what I heard is open it up so that warning or first notice can be a wider option, but by the time we get to citation, that should be law enforcement, in your opinion.
Right, a documented warning, meaning, say, if Mr. Maples has a discussion with somebody about issues with the sidewalk, that's documented, whether he documents himself or comes into my office and says, I just spoke with the business owner at this location, this is their name, I can document it in our computer system. That way there's documentation within our computer system to where we can take action if need be. It acts as a warning system for other officers, same thing as something as simple as a traffic stop. We have local driving history on everybody that's been contacted for traffic violations. It's kind of the same thing.
Thank you. And so I will do that. Document warning doesn't have to be from police, but the citation should be, and I'll follow up and confirm with legal on that. But that was kind of the overall topic that I asked you to stay to, because I knew it was going to come up.
Sure. I honestly, yeah, if Dennison clears that to where a warning could be issued by Public Works or the mayor's office or something like that. Go ahead.
What we've done recently with a couple nuisance properties, I'm sure some of the people in the room are already aware of, they were reported to us, but again, it's kind of one of those things where it could be handled a little bit easier, like going through city officials instead of law enforcement, because sometimes, you know, that can be seen as a touchy subject when it comes to properties and the status of them. So what we did was we have a couple local properties that were just a recurring issue. We kept getting calls on. So we used the city attorney, and he drafted letters for the property owners, and they were mailed, but then also delivered in person by one of us. And then once the issue wasn't being addressed, I think we gave them like 60 days or something to start at least doing something to get it cleaned up. And they didn't really take action. So then Dennison actually issued charges against them for the city ordinance violation, and that was just done through a summons into the court. And that, again, was mailed to them, and then I want to say they were served in person as well by one of us.
I haven't driven by either place recently. What's the status?
So, yeah, there's been a little bit done on the one, where is that? I think it's over on Grant.
Word.
There's another one.
There's one on Word, there's another one.
Grant, right corner of Grant.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Mhm.
So there's been a little bit of progress on that one. The one on Word, kind of the same thing. It just looks like things might have been organized a little bit more, but there's still quite a bit of stuff. So, and again, similar to snow, it's one of those things where, you know, there's not a lot of it now, but there's potential to be a bunch of it. So there's a part on our side where we understand the hassle of taking care of it, but it is the responsibility of the business owners or the homeowners. So that's why we chose to go through Dennison instead of us, you know.
No, I think
knocking on their
it appears
door and-
less heavy-handed. I like that. I mean, it's just, you know, I think that's a good choice.
Right, yeah, so a little bit of progress, but not a lot. It's a lot of stuff, so, I mean, it's been accumulating for quite a while.
Probably
So-
since before I was even here.
Right, since I've been here, really, you know, so hopefully, that's why we tried to do the 60 days, give them the opportunity first, and then, you know.
I think 60 days is fair.
Yeah.
Probably
Probably not with snow,
And
but-
it's legal, and that was the
Yeah.
last response I'd heard, and I'm actually reaching out because I haven't got a recent update from him, and as soon as it was there, it's like, ooh, let me call out. It was in line with what you had said, one of the properties had reached out when was working, and my understanding from a legal perspective, as long as they are making some progress, the courts are inclined to continue to work with them, even though that progress may be slower or there, and one of them had not. But I'll reach out and specifically see if I can get an update for that, so.
Progress is progress.
Well, when I did drive by Word, he had moved the cars from the yard to the street. That's progress.
I
But
don't know if that makes it better or worse.
for his neighbors, it probably wasn't so great.
Yeah, you do have neighbors in that area. You gotta
Okay, number 4 is updates to snow clearing municipal code to allow better enforcement.
Can we go back to number 3, the restricting use of
Oh,
tobacco
yeah,
products?
yeah.
I'm sorry, I just want to ask because, we had the ordinance 884 that we were revising, and then the resolution for the fines, and I think we combine those both. And I'm not familiar enough with the Robert's rules there, how the,
That was actually the
government works.
recommendation of the attorney.
Okay.
The feedback that he had given, and I think it was Sandy who was working with him primarily before, was you can do both. The idea behind it is if it's fees and something that you're gonna change more frequently, you do that in a resolution. So for like, you have an ordinance that says the city council will set water fees by resolution. That way you're not repeating, doing the ordinance.
Okay.
I think on a lot of these things that are penalty situations, the deciding factor is really kind of how frequently do you see the fine changing? And if it's not a lot, then just do them all in the same ordinance.
Okay, now we
But it's
talking about
basically,
that.
it's council preference whether you wanted to, but you can do it either way. But I think
I like
the
it.
past discussion kind of led to, yeah, this isn't something that's gonna change every year. And if you do, you could amend the ordinance easily enough by changing the number. It just takes 2 readings rather than 1.
Okay, so that's, was my next question, what's the next step with this? So tonight, we just mentioned that it's done. Does it need to go to the attorney again before we send out?
It has been through the attorney.
Okay, the final.
But it needs to have a number and that's part of whatever council wants before they take action on it next time. But my understanding is that this is probably ready to move forward for the first reading at the next meeting. And again, there'll be 2 meetings there, but whatever council dictates or wants to do, whatever questions you guys have, and that's kind of the purpose of having it in the work session tonight,
Okay,
is that that the rest of council can say, I want to see this, there.
okay, so they all have a copy in their packet, and then we'll
And,
just ask them to
and
look at it.
884, is it usable? I mean, that's what I have is 884. That's not, does it have to be redone?
So it's a revision of the original one from 2010.
And that was one of the questions I have, is this a new or an amended? Meaning if you're changing it to, and in fact, if you change the title at all, it is a new ordinance.
Sure. Oh, okay.
And I think it is. So I think it is going to be a new ordinance that replaces. And then that probably needs to be included in that. It needs to have the repealer stuff added into that, which to me would be one of those things the attorney should catch.
Okay.
That's with a basic background on this, is what problem is this solving? Like, is there a, why is this on
It
the
came
radar?
from-
It originated from the county and their public kind of health thing, saying, what is Red Lodge doing to help make sure we don't have, and our existing ordinances only includes like 2 or 3. So, for instance, alcohol, you can drink in the parks. But tobacco, there was only like 2 parks that were explicitly called out, or maybe 3, that were explicitly called out where you couldn't have tobacco products.
Changing it to.
This is changing it so it is all parks, or if council, all parks unless specifically excluded, and I'm just recalling that from previous conversations. So this basic, and that way, as you add new parks, you don't have to change the resolution because they're automatically captured in the net.
Makes sense. Okay.
And I think Aaron Cross came to us to try to match the Clean Indoor Air Act,
Yeah.
with our verbiage, with the new,
Okay.
modes of use of tobacco.
There's not a state requirement for clean air in parks.
No,
I don't know
it's an
that.
indoor act for, at the state level. But the county's reach out was, if you guys want to make your parks match that same sort of logic and come out.
So they were doing their own sort of cleanup and they're like, hey,
An
let's,
update, yeah,
okay.
and, yeah, get in sync with it. So it was nice she reached out to us, and we hadn't revisited, I don't think, since 2010 or so. It hadn't been revised, so it was
I didn't know
good
if
to
there was
look at
like
it.
suddenly a smoking problem in parks or something that we're, okay.
Not that I'm aware of,
No.
yeah.
It was not a, that we're getting multiple calls a week on it. It was somebody pointing out that we couldn't do anything about it if somebody did, and do we want to do something about that?
Okay, thank you.
You okay, Patty?
Yes, thank you, sorry.
Okay, then now on to snow clearing municipal code, updates to the snow clearing municipal code. I don't have anything on
And,
that.
and I had kind of raised my question earlier because I felt like it kind of said, but that was basically what it boiled down to, as the Public Works Director. We have an issue, we want to kind of just revisit that snow clearing. It's kind of like the tall grass, but different. So tall grass, we send out a letter that says, your lawn needs to be mowed, you have 2 weeks to respond. If you don't, we'll come do it, and the bill will be on, we'll send you the bill, and the taxes will get there. The Public Works Director's feeling is that if we do that with snow, the problem is gonna fix itself, particularly on Broadway where we have a few, which is, by the way, the only place our ordinance does apply right now. That as soon as people get a citation, and more importantly, they get the cost of having the snow cleared, which includes a markup because we did it, that will get their behavior. The problem is, in order to do that, it doesn't work quite the same as tall grass. We can't have the police issue a warning, which is the requirement right now, is that the warning has to come from police. So that was the main thing he wanted to change. But it also can't be wait 2 weeks, because then the sun comes out and it's all, we've got packed down ice. So it's how do we deal with that snow time frame so that we can, from a public health and safety standpoint, we want to be able to take care of it, and therefore, within a couple of cycles, have the problem kind of fix itself. What we did the last couple of years is I've reached out and had conversations with folks and just been very different, hey, can you do that, or whatnot. But like I said, right now, it's so onerous that for us to issue a warning and or to get around to cleanup, I'm just waiting till July. The problem will be taken care of by itself.
July, it's January 20th, it's fine.
No.
Or whatever it is today.
13th.
So what are we doing? So what do you want to do? Write some,
What is your, so my questions that I had on it, we need to revisit the snow ordinance. I don't have the number, but Sandy had it on there 2 or 3 times. We never got to it. I would like for the initial warning to not have to come from police.
Okay.
I would like for the city to be able to cause that snow to be removed and give the bill to the property owner in a time frame that's short enough to actually accomplish the objective, which is public safety.
okay,
Those are my 2 thoughts.
okay.
And you can include that in the citation, like, for instance, if this is what you're gonna do, but like, if we, have to tow a vehicle for a parking violation, in the ordinance, or from the bond schedule, actually, from the judge, a part of that fine for the said parking violation is, the tow bill as well. So the city's not paying, out of pocket to have this vehicle towed. It's built into the fine. So they get X amount of dollars for the violation, and then plus, $150 for the tow fee built in with the.
That to me is a way better comparison and template than tall grass, because you tow a vehicle right then because it's a problem.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is that's what you could do. So like if you have
Ooh, I like that.
a business or a
That's why he
house,
wears the stripes.
a business or a house that, isn't resolving the issue, they already have the warning, you could just build in for that, fine amount to include what the standard, whatever the fee would be to
Where do y'all have that written
remove the
down,
snow.
so we can get a copy of it?
You could just go on, I think you can get the bond schedule
Municipal
on the city
code.
website, you should.
Is it our municipal code that says that, or is it a state ordinance that?
No, this is city ordinance, like parking violation. So it's like, $100, I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. It's like $100 for the violation itself. So,
Which is what,
parking and no parking, blocking an alleyway, whatever, something where we have to remove the vehicle, right? So when we issue the citation, it'll be the fine plus what the tow fee is, all in one. So when we, the city, pays for the vehicle to be towed, so we pay Jerry, right, $150 or $200 for him to come get the vehicle, remove it, that is built into the fine. So if you call, ProCut or the city guys go over and remove the snow for whoever is offending, right? Included in the citation, you could have the violation itself, the city ordinance, plus whatever the cost for us to remove the snow is, and then that's already built in. So the city's getting reimbursed for paying for somebody to come resolve the issue. Just a thought, but yeah, that seems like it'd probably cover it.
I think towing is a better, and then a lot of our language right now says like 48 hours after the cessation of the snow event. So if it snows for a day and a half straight, you don't have to plow it at all, and then you have 48 hours, and by that time it's pressed down in ice. And
It's 10 a.m. by the day of after cessation of the,
yeah,
it's really kind of 24 hours.
And we.
and then that's right now that's the warning sort of a thing. So I think going back and revisiting that with looking at looking at towing as an example as opposed to tall grasses, I think works, because that's a public health and safety issue that you get to respond in a little bit more quick cycle to.
Okay, we'll look at
And that hasn't
that.
come up in any of the discussions up to this point,
Yeah.
so.
And there was a letter correspondence from the public, from Pete, Kelly, about snow. So I'll send it to you.
No, I have it.
Oh, you have this one? Okay.
Mhm.
I'll give it to you then, Mayor. Lonnie and Sandy had it, and,
Yeah, and if
I'll
it's
just
not
share that
anything
with
that doesn't
Jeremy.
include Lonnie, make sure to include it so we get it in there.
Yeah, it does.
It was in the packet.
it's
Yeah.
in the packet. Okay, good, so you can see it.
Yeah, it's in the packet.
Just to
right.
make sure.
I had to make sure, yep.
And we did have somebody comment on it, and so, all right, so that'll be our homework, is looking at the city code regarding parking violations, and maybe make some suggestions for the snow ordinance.
It should be on there. If you can't get it, you can just ask the judge.
Okay.
I can help you find that too, so, yeah. Because
Thank you.
everybody here ought to know how to pull that up, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, moving on, number 5, discussion. Cameras on city property. I have nothing to say about that.
I threw that out there, and the reason I wanted to do is kind of get council's input or thought. So the driver behind that is that we have what I fear or what I worry or hope for, because that's in that we may have a rising trend. There was some vandalism. We've had several acts of vandalism over the last year or so that to me are kind of happening at an escalating scale. There was the one that was in Pride Park, which was on private property, not public property, but between me and the department heads, we elected to take care of it from a city level. We got permission to do so, so we weren't just vandalizing with a different color. But we were concerned with having that increase. There has been a garbage can that was tagged with artwork that's similar enough, it could have been the same individual. There was also a private property in the alley that got hit, like within the last month, there's been 2 of them in kind of a close proximity. The concern came up specifically because there was some in the skate park. As soon as we resealed the skate park, that got hit, and they fixed it, and it's since been re-hit. And it was raised as we make efforts to improve things, AKA the tennis court, pickleball courts. Does that raise the level of target because it's nice? And right now we don't have, as a policy, we don't have any cameras on city-owned policies and parks. And the question was raised, do we want to do that? The attorney's input is that there are precautions you have to do if you want to. You know, you have to have signs posting saying, these premises are recorded and whatnot. The idea being that if parks got hit, it may make it easier for law enforcement to pursue. I don't know how useful those cameras are, if they give you enough to work with. Go ahead.
I've spoken about that with my patrol team, and everybody is of the same thought that it would help.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there'd also be a cost associated with that, because you've got to have Wi-Fi. I mean, there are versions where we've just had trail cams set up in the past, but somebody knows where that is, they take, but, and the reality is, probably half the security cameras out there are really just smoke bubbles, and you don't know that there's a camera behind it or not. So what is city council's thought / desire on, do we want to look at that, consider that, evaluate the cost? There has to be a case from council for us to move forward at all, because ultimately that needs to be, again, executive branch, we enforce the rules that city council puts out there. Is that something city council is interested in? Yay or nay?
I would want to look at the cost of remediating versus the cost of maintaining cameras. That would be the main comparison, I guess.
Remediating the
Remediating
vandalism?
vandalism.
Okay.
Like, how much did it cost to paint over, whatever, versus how much would it cost to?
There's been buildings tagged. There's a lot of graffiti in the alleyways here. If you actually slow roll an alley, there's quite a bit of graffiti in our alleyways. Garbage
This
cans.
would just be city property. We're not proposing turn into Europe. We're just.
No, absolutely. No, I understand that.
Protecting our city.
I understand that. I'm just talking about the accumulation of damage that's been done over the last 8 weeks. Yeah.
I did share it with the school, so they could see, because, a lot of kids doodle, if it is from a, middle
We've already
schooler or a
spoken.
high school or
We've-
something.
We've already spoken to the school about it, and the school itself has been vandalized itself with spray paint before too, so it's just, our police department's been vandalized with spray paint before.
Was that particular upswing, like in you said in the last 8 weeks?
Oh, a ton. Graffiti? Oh, yeah.
That's a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
Recently.
Since, like I said, the first one that I was really aware of that showed up was the one that was in Pride Park. But then I know in the last 8 weeks, there's been more.
Several. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of the cases involving the graffiti. And mind you, graffiti isn't the only form of vandalism that you have to worry about. And truly, in the parks, that's not the only crime that there is to worry about. So in my opinion, I think cameras would be good overall, because there's already a lack of cameras, in the city. So a lot of the cases specifically involving vandalism have to go unsolved, because there's really nothing to go off of. It's not like they're writing their names, under what they're doing, but there's been a huge upswing. There's a case, that's submitted for approval right now for vandalism graffiti, and right next to it, it's tagged suspended, because we have nothing to go off of. And just like anything in life, you start with the smallest amount, or what seems as the most innocent, involving vandalism, and then over time, if you keep doing something and you're not, being corrected, things can tend to get worse after that.
Are there any cameras in town other than webcams?
The city pool,
I think we may have one at the city pool as the only site that we.
which I have relied on those in the past when I respond to calls for service. They have been an asset. I would say this is just off the top of my head, 80% of the theft calls for service that we respond to, there are cameras, but they don't work. And then unless if somebody grabs a license.
That's personal cameras.
Correct. Unless if somebody grabs a license plate or gives like a very specific identification of a suspect, we're kind of dead in the water.
Well, I don't see any reason why we can't have cameras on Main Street with, people turning over benches and flowers and
Agreed.
breaking glass.
We do have some working cameras at the county building that we have used in the past, but that's in one spot.
I think people are used to cameras by now.
And the ones we had on Broadway were actually private, like, I remember 20 years ago, Scoops had one
Mm-hmm.
that was down there, but that was not city. And so, like I said, to me, I just think of the term, the purpose of this question was, I think it's something we look at and consider, and like you said, that's one of the metrics to look at is what's the cost of remediation versus the cost of maintaining cameras. Because with internet, you could be talking $50 a month per site just for the internet costs of maintaining that. But again, is vandalism the only thing we're stopping? My concern is just seeing it escalate, and how do we break the pattern before it becomes a worse?
You can get trail cameras that have, cell phone connection.
Yeah.
They run about $25 a month, some are $20 a month. That would be very mobile if you have a targeted area, and if you have an incident, then you can go back and review, and it's all uploaded, so that even if somebody steals the camera, it's uploaded.
That's actually happened before.
Yeah, and that's
So-
what I was thinking. I was thinking the T-Mobile is more like $50 a month, but if they've got,
Well,
if they,
If you look at Cabela's as an example, and all of the cell phone enabled cameras, they keep those subscriptions fairly low because they want people to use them.
yeah.
So around $20 a month. You need 2 per site so that you have a camera watching the other camera, so if somebody steals it, that, you know.
And I think what it boils, so again, we've heard from the law enforcement saying, I think it'd help. We've heard from legal that says, if you do it, you just need to have signs that post that let people know you're doing it.
Yep.
And so now, the next step in my mind was bring it to council. Is there an appetite to do this? Is there not an appetite to do this? Because ultimately, we do what council says we think needs to be done.
So we need to do some further research on pricing and stuff and then bring it to council.
Well, what I
Like
always
Jordan
do is I call other municipalities and talk
Yeah.
to them.
And about that, yeah.
And part of it is, do we have, if there's zero interest, then we don't even need to do homework.
Okay, so bring it to
But-
them tonight and ask.
I don't think we have it on for discussion.
No,
I
I
think
don't
I
think
just
it's
put
on
it
here.
to this level first, and that way, you guys may want to do 2 weeks of homework and then come back and put it further below the fold.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, and what kind of scope you're looking at too, like you said, is it just Broadway? Is it all parks? What are you looking at?
You
Or a
have to
mobile
look for
one that moves.
What we call it, sponsored.
Brought to you
cameras,
by,
like Scoops had, where, those were really, people would want, I would look at Scoops and say, okay, do I need to go downtown and shovel?
I do like webcams personally.
So the webcam,
Yeah. Okay.
would be one way to get an overall picture. We're replacing all of our cameras, by the way, so.
Nice.
we'll-
or you have cameras outside, Rod, in the
Yeah.
parking lot? Okay.
Yeah, and
Solved a lot of stuff for
sometimes
us.
the expectations of the cameras are higher than the ability of the cameras.
Mhm.
So they give you a generalized picture, but then that's where the investigative skills come in to play, to try and take the clues that cameras provide to solve the issue.
Huh.
We've actually matched tattoos off of Rod's cameras
Wow.
before, so, yeah,
That's-
they do help.
IGA,
IGA?
Ace Hardware has tons of them.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they're a targeted area for
Yeah.
theft as well.
Mhm.
Yep.
So again, what we have right now is properties that are specifically watching out for their properties, and that benefits us. But do we want them on specific facilities? And there may be other liability, like this, we have it at the pool, and there's reasons why that's there. Is the skate park someplace we need them? Do we need them on, as we do a facility, do we want, Lions Park? That's a very high profile subject right now. Do we need to have, do we just print up do we start out by getting some signs printed that says premises may be on camera and being recorded, so we're covering there? And do we get a benefit just by putting the signs out there, whether or not we've got the recordings out there? This is public property and you may be recorded.
If the crime decreases.
I don't know, I think that's called, is that calling wolf or the wolf thing, the,
Boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
It's just,
In May.
it does just say step one, and like I said, we may have trail cams that we float and move around, kind of like our speed sign, which we've provided guidance that we'd always like to be set up someplace in town.
From a prosecutorial standpoint, if somebody knows that there's cameras in a park and they still commit a crime anyways, it helps,
okay,
right?
yeah.
Do you have opinions on if it's a publicly, like, streamed, like a webcam versus something?
Oh, the attorney has said it would not be. So if we do it, they would not be publicly streamed. And you couldn't just do a FOIA to get the information. It would have additional, it would be more like a criminal, and there would be a separate process you would have to go through if somebody else wanted to get that footage. He
Correct.
did provide input on that.
Yeah, I would look at it from the standpoint of it's a restricted use camera. I don't want it streamed publicly because you do not know who's watching your children play in the park. Yeah.
And it's a webcam, so there's really no preservation when it comes to whatever they're capturing. Because I talked to the guy, I can't think of his name. I think he's associated with the chamber somehow, but they have that live camera, I think it's at the Snow Creek outside. And we talked in the past about the city and the chambers, because somebody, I can't think of his name, but he oversees the webcam. And, we talked about the possibility of a collaboration between the city and those guys to see, you know, what the funds would be to add like server space to where video could be stored. And I don't think anything ever came of that, but again, it's the same problem. If it's a webcam, like the chief said, who's accessing it and who's watching these kids play or whatever it is, and then if something happens, we can't, you know, back record that footage anyway, so it defeats really the purpose. We're not gonna have somebody that's gonna be able to just sit there and watch the cameras the whole time.
Okay,
So, Madam Chair, thank you. I think we're
We gotta
from
go.
a time, we've got to move on to public comment so we can wrap. But I think your idea of doing homework and reaching out to other municipalities, but that was the purpose of the agenda item and the question, and what drove it to kind of be there, so.
Thank you.
anybody have any public comment? Small group today.
We do have one online.
Oh.
Let's see.
That's Jordan.
That's me.
Oh,
I couldn't hear from my computer, so I just came inside.
Okay, no public comment. It's not time, we don't have time to renew our priorities, projects, and timelines. So it's 8:54. I move to adjourn. Can I get a second?
I second that,
Okay.
yes.
8:53.